Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Board Foundation Subcommittee meetings, 6/16/2022 at 2 o'clock. We are being live streamed. May we have a roll call, please?
Board Member Cornett.
Here.
Foundation Board President Gothier.
Here.
Foundation Board Member Bush.
Here.
Foundation Director Goodman.
Here.
And Superintendent Sweezy.
Here.
And just to note, Board Member Girardi is currently absent.
May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
And may we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Kathy, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Have we received any public comments?
Have not received any public comment.
All right. We're down to information and we're down to the foundation update, and I'll hand it over to Ellen.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll start with our update, and this will be for the month of June. And it'll be from last month to June to today. So the first thing we'll talk about is our shoe distribution, which I think everybody is familiar with. And God bless the staff at Student Services for being out there on Thursday afternoon in brutal heat. Really, some people had to actually leave early because it was so hot. It was shocking. We had two, when I say shocking, we had two distribution events. One was on a Saturday, one early in the morning. All the foundation board members were there and our SMART students were there as volunteers. And we just really didn't know how to gauge if we would have a rush or trickled in. We had people waiting in line for the first 30 minutes for us to open at 8 a.m. And then cars actually just kind of trickled in. So we really didn't know, we didn't know what to expect on Thursday when we were at the district office and we were in the afternoon. And it was, I will tell you, shocking, like shocking. The cars were lined up to Gene Autry all the way down the front of the building's roadway and into Gene Autry. And we were really counting on quite a few volunteers from some community groups, and they just did not make it. So it was really staff and just a few members of the Greater Palm Springs Realtors Association. So it was nonstop. They started lining up at 3:30 and the last car came at about 10 after 7. I'm not really sure how many shoes we physically distributed. I haven't gotten that total number yet, but I do know that Lisa Todd at Student Services and her team will be delivering the shoes that weren't picked up during the summer. And we have great photos and photos that we've gotten permission for. And the families were overwhelmed. I mean, overwhelmed. And when we started to invite the kids to actually try the shoes on, then we really had this level of engagement that, you know, just kind of makes it all worth it. So that was lovely. We also got some really good media, as you have seen, where the Desert Sun covered it and KESQ covered it. So it was a big success. And we're looking forward to working again with Student Services for next year and seeing that, you know, if we can recreate the same experience. Yes.
Can I just jump in real fast?
Yeah.
I was able to be out there for about 30 minutes or so. And as Ellen said, it was a small but very mighty group working hard to get kids the shoes, and the families were so appreciative. And I just wanted to make a public comment that in the 110-degree heat and constant busyness in the sun, Ellen was very, very quick to put on the shoe costume. She did not hesitate to put on a giant shoe. And all joking aside, I really admire that, Ellen, because it was super hot and you put that shoe on and we got some really cute pictures, and I think the kids really liked it as well. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for acknowledging that. Okay, so the next thing we'll talk about is grant. It is grant season. And so we have been busy with grants. We do have a grant writer that has been on retainer, and the foundation board members paid for that grant writer. And during COVID, we had to pause that initiative just because there was really no money going to education projects. All the money was going to COVID. So we have reignited that relationship and she has completed her first grant, which was to the Desert Healthcare District. And these grants are for the Wellness Center. And there are many more that are coming down the pike, which are due in July, August, and September. In addition to that, Edgar Gutierrez, who is in our office, and he is our admin, he published he wrote a grant, and so I called it published, but he completed a grant, and that was for the Anderson Children's Foundation, and that request was for tennis shoes for 2022-23, and we were awarded $10,000 towards the tennis shoe campaign. So congratulations to Edgar, and we feel really good about our first jumpstart. I'll tell you about donor meetings. So there are a few donors who are year-round, and so this was a time to really sit with our donors who have given us money in the past, just to cultivate, to solicit, and to get ideas and share projects for 22-23. So that's been going really well. One of those donor meetings, which is actually a new one, Mitch Bloomberg, one of the foundation board members, got a meeting with the Desert Regional Hospital's CEO and Chief Strategy Officer, and we met with them last week. It was a very good meeting, really good meeting. And we think that there's some potential for future relationship. Not only did they offer letters of support for the Wellness Center, they said that they would be connecting with Desert Healthcare, the Desert Healthcare District Foundation, where we just sent our application to leverage their support to see if they can actually procure more money than we requested. So we'll see how that goes, but it was a really, really good meeting. I will share about our wellness centers. So we are at work with retrofitting Bella Vista Elementary School. So we've been working with the principal. We have made the purchases, and we are now installing all of the items. That is, it's a nice room. It's the smaller room of all the rooms that we've been working on. And so we believe that that'll happen in just a few weeks, that'll be complete. So when kids are back at school, August 10th, it will be up and running. It's really actually a nice area. Let's see, what else have we done? I'm going to turn inward. Well, I'll share one more meeting. We had a meeting with the new arena, and I can't pronounce it. Is it Akshura? Does anybody know how to pronounce it? I just can't quite get my head around that yet, but my apologies to the arena folks. So we met with the gentleman who is the head of corporate sales. So what we found out was each month, the arena will be doing a small grant to local charities, about $2,500, what I heard. And that'll be throughout the next year, their first year in business, and it'll be at their home games. In addition to that, we were brainstorming on how the foundation could partner with the arena to raise funds, either through cultivation of donors or some other sort of project. The gentleman who is the head of corporate sales has experience in Oregon, where he sat on the board at Easter Seals, and he partnered with their ice hockey team in their arena, which he was the vice president of corporate sales. I believe that was his title. And they had a ton of projects. So he started to make offers or brainstorm ideas around what we could do at a night of ice hockey. For example, have all of the players sign their shirts and then auction them off at halftime. And the money would go to the charities. Excuse me. So we started to go down this rabbit hole, and I wanted him to know that there are, as he already is aware, there are 3 school districts in our valley. And you know, where we might be able to raise sponsorship money to do a big event at the arena, our other school districts might not be able to. And if we did something, there's 100% chance the other school districts will be on their doorstep looking for something very similar. And I just wanted to be totally transparent with him and let him know, like, that's the kind of valley we're in. So we actually started to talk about a valley-wide event during one of the games, like I said, with an auction and with other types of things, and that the money would be divided amongst the 3 school districts. And so it really just seemed like the most equitable thing to do in the beginning. And I told him we'd be on board and we would be very interested in that conversation. He talked about a possible date of December or maybe January. I really tried to encourage him to have it be early in the year so he could really come out with a charitable, like, a brand and like what he was doing. So I think it went really well, and we'll see something in the 22-23 school year. The rest of this month, what we did was we turned inward, which we really have been doing for the last year, and working on organizational development, which includes our board. We had 2 offsites in the last school year, and at those offsites, the priorities that our board came up with was board development, board training, onboarding, and board recruitment. And so our strategy group has been working on that. As a result, we onboarded 2 new board members, or I should say they've been elected, and the onboarding process will be happening in the month of August. Now, those board members are away for the summer, so we will be doing their training and orientation via Zoom. And this is a part of our board presentation, is the manual that has been created. So there is a corporate manual with all the legal documents, the MOU, articles of incorporation, bylaws. They will be uploaded and stored in the website in the board portal. And then there is a manual, which is really the relationship that the foundation has with the school district, how the projects get incorporated, the ideas, how they come to the table. It also has all of the programs, either current or sunsetted, and it will also have all the board information. It's about 26 pages, and it's quite robust and very thorough. So we just actually completed that and have the final copy. It'll go one more time for proofreading, and then it'll be complete. And that our goal was by June 15th, which was yesterday, and we succeeded with our goals. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, that's my June up until today. And Mark, Kathy, I'll turn to you if you have anything else that you might be able to add.
I really don't, Ellen. As you know, I'm back east for the summer and working remotely with you guys. I'm thrilled about the meeting with the arena. And by the way, it's pronounced Acrisure.
Acrisure, thank you. Acrisure.
Difficult coined words. But no, I'll give my time to Kathy because she's been much more hard at work on various things than I have this month.
Well, I think in between our meetings, we had the year-end party, which brought in quite a bit of donations, I believe, Ellen, didn't it? We had a varied group and a lot of new faces that came from that wonderful place. I know both you, Mike and Karen, and I can't remember if Simone was there or not, but yes, okay. Yes, you were. Now we're there, so you could see the different people in a fabulous house. So that was really great that we contacted those people, and they brought in a whole new audience of potential, larger donors to the foundation, to our eyes. So that was a great success. And I also want to informally announce that the executive committee has been reelected. So far, it was unanimous. I'm missing 2 votes, but to make it completely unanimous, but I've only received yeses. So the same team will continue for another 2 years. So there will be great continuity there. And that's about all I have other than the MOU.
Kathy, I just wanted to echo what you just said about the diversity of folks that we had at the year-end party. It was astonishing to me how many people we've informed about the foundation and who support us, who A, don't necessarily have children, and B, don't necessarily live in Palm Springs year round. One of the new additions in our statement of purpose, which has been worked into the MOU, is our public relations function. And I have to say, without bragging, I think that's really working.
Yes, and I'll also say that we collected on site at the party, and I think I whispered to Simone at one point, $28,000. And so people were handing over checks. And then just yesterday, we got a $1,000 donation, first-time contributors who happened to be their next door neighbors. And so it was, and then I was, 10 days ago, I was at Miro's restaurant, and a woman came up to me and said she had been at the party. And I really just didn't, after she left, I placed her. I was like, oh yes, I went, I said hello. But in that moment, I just didn't know where to place her. And I was like, oh, do you work at the schools? And she was a brand new person who was brought by a friend, and she was gushing. I mean, really, it was so beautiful. She had such a wonderful time. She's going to Santa Fe for the summer, and she can't wait to come back in September and get to know us. And so, Mark, thank you for saying that. I really do think it's powerful.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in there too. I think I've certainly heard from our school board, especially pre-pandemic days, but that was one of the real unintended, in some ways, benefits to starting the foundation. That we know that our district families think highly of the district, but this gets our district students' needs in front of a whole different group of people, but it also gets our successes out there too, and makes us proud. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Mark, because I think for at least me, I don't think that was in my mental model for one of the benefits of having such a great foundation and good relationship with the district, but it certainly has paid off. And I think it continues to, because as you just said, Kathy, new faces just last week or 2 weeks ago. So those new faces continue. So that's a great thing.
And, on the heels of that, I might add, and we'll talk a little bit about this when we get to, into the board presentation on the 28th, that we are, this is a part of our organizational design and the work that we're doing internally. When we actually look at our database, what we can see from, let's say 2014, which was our first full calendar year working together as a new group, to now, we actually haven't done a great job of what we'll call donor retention. That we have had so much success at establishing new relationships and really getting that word out, that some of the donors, and there's a lot of reasons around donor retention. Some could be parents and their child has graduated out of the school system and they're no longer giving money. Some of the people could be employee contributions, and they gave for a number of years, and then during COVID they stopped giving because their economics might have changed. So there's a lot of reason for what we'll call churn, which is bringing new people in as people drop off. And so we talked in our strategy meetings about, what ideas can we come up with and how our foundation board can support really the massaging, the real consumer relations that needs to happen to, at the donor level, so that we're just not just always, raising our flag on all the new people that we're bringing in. Right, that we're able to hold and retain them. Another example is like the Glow Run, which was really good for 3 years, and then we didn't continue it, and so we lost some donors there. So we're really looking at these strategies on how we can continue to acquire new donors, move donors up the pyramid, and be able to take care of the donors at the point of entry that they come in.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, that was great. Sounds like you've been really busy during the month of June. And
I thought we would be able to have a breather, but no.
And the party was very wonderful. It was very successful. The people were very, really wanted to know about our district. They did, and they were very glad to be there and to learn about what we were doing and what the positive things of public education. So I think it went off really well.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go down to Foundation MOU update, Ellen.
Okay, so we had an opportunity. So the executive team here from our subcommittee, we went through line by line, paragraph by paragraph, and then I reviewed the entire thing with Simone, and we had I thought a pretty good discussion and about dates and timing. And what really came up for us was 21-22, our first year back at school post-COVID, was an anomaly, just like being remote was an anomaly. And so our recommendation for the MOU is really that it stays the same, and that we spend, there'll be one addition, but that it 90% of it stays exactly as it is, and that we work to complete the deliverables as they are stated in the MOU. So the only recommendation that we would like to make, the foundation would like to make, and if somebody could allow me to share, I'll pull up the MOU, and that is on the very first page, section C. It's the third section. It currently reads right now as a historical view of the foundation. It says it was established to. And then what our team put together was something that was based more in the reality of the scope of work that has emerged over the last 8 or 9 years. And so we're recommending that we add a paragraph to that document, to that section. So here we go. So the whole MOU would stay the same, and this is what we are suggesting aside from this. So I said section C, first page, a combination of original purpose with the functional reality of the foundation's scope of work. So this paragraph in black font, if you see it like that, would remain the same, and then this paragraph in red is the addition that we would like to recommend. And I just want to make sure everybody can see that. And I'll just read it.
May I add on to what you just said?
Sure, Mark, thank you.
Group that this description that we're suggesting adding is what we came up with as a group last year, is a more expanded and more updated description of the functions of the foundation. So this is, in a way, this is something we've already done. And we're just sort of suggesting we work it into the MOU.
Great, thank you, Mark. And I'll just add to that, we discussed that in the subcommittee. So the foundation created a new, more current statement of purpose. So it's really like the mission, and it's called different things on different documents. In the 990s, it is called statement of purpose. On our website, we call it the mission. And there have been bits and pieces of it living in a variety of different places. And so at our subcommittee meeting, it was recommended that our board go back to the drawing board and create this new statement, in which they voted on it. We brought it back to the subcommittee. And then I don't remember if the subcommittee agreed that it should be worked into the MOU or not, but this is that statement of purpose. And it says, as such, the foundation, so it begins with, the foundation was established in 2007 for the sole purpose of to raise funds on behalf of the district to enhance instruction and learning opportunities for students in the district, and to engage the district's communities as participants and contributors in student learning initiatives, and to support district programs using best instructional practices, enhance student learning, and support innovation both inside and outside the classroom. So the addition would be, as such, the foundation was organized as a 501c3 to provide a stream of external funds to the schools within the district. The foundation represents a public-private partnership dedicated to supplementing federal and state support. Working in collaboration with the Board of Education and the superintendent, the foundation, 1, helps to underwrite existing initiatives and pilot new initiatives that are unfunded or underfunded. 2, builds visibility of the district's needs among community stakeholders and potential donors. And then 3, functions as the fiscal agent for external funds that it raises coming into the district, storing and providing fiduciary administration of such resources. And just let me know when you'd like me to stop screen sharing.
If you can just leave it for one more second,
Sure.
Ellen. Kathy, was this the line that when we were working on the MOU that we really worked hard on with collaboration? Was this, or is this just a similar statement? I just remember working so closely. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's D, Mike.
That's D. Okay. Cooperatively and collaboratively. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. I knew it was in there somewhere, but I thought, oh my gosh, maybe we didn't ever say it and it's now in red.
Oh, no. This is just outlining the 3 areas of scope of work that we actually do.
Yeah. Got it. I think.
Karen, yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
So can I put it down or should we leave it up?
You can go ahead and put it down.
Yeah, okay.
So Ellen, would an example of for example, number 3, the external funds, one example I could think of, but if you can think of others, that would be helpful, would be like scholarship funds where you take in the money and then disperse the money and it never really comes to the district. Would that be an example of number 3? Okay.
Yeah, another example would be an endowment. And so it goes to the district little by little by little, and we have to manage those resources and work with our bankers.
Okay. And this isn't going to happen, but if for whatever reason in the world, the foundation disappeared, where would the money in the endowment go?
To your coffers.
Okay. I know that's what the answer would be, but I just want to make sure, but I want to make sure that number 3 doesn't say something different than that, because.
No, does not say different. As a matter of fact, Kathy was really good at articulating is that we act only as the fiscal agent for those funds. You own those funds.
Got it.
And that we stored it and we provide fiduciary administration.
True. Okay, like the investing and the making decision. Yes. Okay.
That's and the decisions are in D. Mike, those decisions that are made are in D. We do not make those decisions alone.
Right. Okay.
Kathy, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that at some point, I'm looking for that place where it says that the funds are owned, like if we disbanded or whatever, the funds are owned by the district. I think what we were actually trying to do is to account in a way for like how staff spends its time a little bit. So, and that component of fiscal agency, which has been there since the beginning with the original Galen donation, was kind of assumed and was in the back netherworld. And we just wanted to bring it a little bit forward, because as we become more successful, and that's what all the strategic planning that we've been doing over the last year has been, we have to, as we accumulate funds, we have to be more careful and spend more time making sure that the donor intent is honored and that the donor is informed of how it's being honored. And so there's a lot more time that's spent there that we can't really account for when you look at, these are the funds raised.
Yeah.
So we wanted it to be in there so that it was totally, transparent that we do spend time on that. And we have to, in order to get the funds. So, so that was our only real purpose in it, is to make sure that that was delineated for everyone, going forward, and that we kind of get all our, speaking about the organizations both aligned, so it's very clear that we're walking in lockstep collaboratively and cooperatively, and that there's no disparity of how we say things and how you guys say things. So that was.
I think that before this statement, we had a very simplistic description of what we did. The foundation raises money, period. But there's so much more than that, and this sort of fleshes that out.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for spending a couple extra minutes on that.
Oh, sure.
I have a question. If, say, a $25,000 grant comes in for the Race Academy, where exactly does that money go?
That goes into a Wells Fargo bank account.
Okay,
And then what we do is we act as the account, as the purchasing department.
okay,
And so, for example, Race bought 2 cars this year with that donation. They did get 25,000 and they bought 2 cars. So the foundation just writes the check. That's the fiduciary agent, in addition to managing a bank, but a bank account or an endowment. And so we wrote the check to the owners who sold the car, and any parts and other things that will be required for purchase, we'll send the payment directly to. Now, where that actually, we renegotiated that model with the IT department with a technology, because they're buying such large quantities of product that it is confusing to the warehouse. So for example, 1 year or like 2 years ago, we purchased all the robotics, like all the robot kits, and we had it shipped to the warehouse, and it sat there for a really long time because it didn't go through the usual budget stream and the budget code. So now what we're doing with robotics, with the tech department, is we just write a check to the school district, deposit it into that budget code, and then tech actually spends that. We don't do that though with teachers and with certain school sites and projects, because the donors, many of them have communicated they don't want to give money to the schools,
Right.
or to individuals. So we become their purchasing department.
okay. Thank you for
That was a
clarifying
really
that.
good question, Karen.
Well, thank you for clarifying it. Any other questions or comments? on
Well,
the-
I guess for me, and I know Karen, John is not here, but in our conversations, this was recommended we bring it back to the subcommittee. And then the next step, because it does say in the MOU that July is the school board meeting in which they renew the MOU.
Yeah, we have
And
one
so I
more,
guess,
right, we have one more meeting this month. So when it's complete, I would assume that the board would get a copy of it before we actually vote on it in
Right.
July.
Yep.
Who is holding the master document that gets updated? I remember in early last year, it was the attorneys for the school district that had the master document, but that seems cumbersome to, I
Right.
just wanted to speed this along. Like,
Yeah,
where is the
I
final
believe-
document?
That question is as important as who keeps the endowment of the Galen Foundation. It's like that. I agree with you. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm sure it's us, but I'm nervous. I believe Erica has that we in our office have the final copy. We have all the working copies, I know for sure, because we looked at so many of them, but I believe that we have the final version. So I agree with Karen. I think what we would do is, again, what Ellen just showed, produce a document like that shows the additional language, send that to the board for review, and then take action on it in July.
yes. So let me just add, Mike, you do hold the original document with the signatures, and that brings me just to one more change. My apologies. And because I didn't just slip my mind, is that we need to put Mike's name down. And so those would be the 2 changes. My suggestion is that, and I don't know how it will work, I would keep the red ink, the red font right now, so that people
Right.
can see where that change is. And I'll cross out Sandy's name, Mike, and add yours.
Yeah.
And then I can
Use
send
that
it
for the
to
review copy. Yeah.
exactly, and use that as the review copy, because otherwise nothing else is going to change.
That would be great, Ellen. And but just to confirm, on number 3, we're not removing the first part of that paragraph. We're
Correct.
just
Just
adding
adding.
the second
Yeah.
part. Whereas in the signature, we're going to remove. So I would do probably strike through then, Ellen,
Yep.
on Sandy, and then just add me.
Will do.
Thank you.
And you probably could, get it done.
Oh, yeah. Erica's
And
nodding.
So so this will be ready for the July 12th board meeting. That's the first board meeting in July.
Yes, for action. We'll do it for action, but we'll have it for review.
Before.
Yeah,
And
maybe
then,
this week.
Mike, will you let me know if you'd like me to be on Zoom? I'll be back east, but I have no problem
Okay.
jumping on. And if anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
Okay,
Awesome.
that's right. Any other comments? That was a great discussion.
Oh, well, I would like, is it on the agenda, Karen? I don't have it pulled up in front of me. I would like just to go through the board presentation. Is that our next agenda item?
You know what, you could do it under board updates.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to talk about the presentation,
I would.
okay, yeah, absolutely.
And the goal of talking about it really is just to get your feedback. Now, we did have a very brief, Mike Simone and I had kind of a brief, like kind of broad strokes of what to present. So, and some of this is going to be just posed as a question. So this particular presentation is not a study session and it's not budget planning. We did that. And we proposed a 3-year plan, and with each year broken down with its economics. And so I was thinking, this is my thought, is this is our second presentation to the school board. The first one was in January, and that covered Q1 and 2. So we did a full review of the financials and our projects and where we were at. So I'm under the assumption that this one in June, just because it's year end, would actually be the whole year. Unless you think we should only do January to June, but they're unaudited, but we do have numbers as frequently as today. So think about that, and then you'll give me some directive on it. So I would start with a slide that just reintroduced that one slide from that budget study session, which includes our goals, which is a 3-year goal. And it includes some of the strategies and the tasks. It's just a very simple slide. The second slide would include our year-to-date actuals to budget that are unaudited, so that everyone can see exactly. And I have that document so we can review it, so you can just see it for today. The next slide would be the 22-23 key drivers of philanthropy, which is really our budget. And so I would show what we'll do in the arts, what we'll do in academics, what we'll do in career and college readiness. This, when I say what we'll do, is how much money will be raised. So the next slide after showing the 21-22 would be a 22-23 kind of bird's eye view of how we're going to get to our goal. And then just some reading for folks, what that will include: major donors, corporations, events, grants, that kind of stuff. And then the next slide would really be a breakdown of each quarter with highlights of each quarter. So what Q1 would look like, and this is our proposed fundraising plan that is in the MOU. So what Q1 would look like, what 2Q would look like, Q3 and Q4. And that was really the meat of the presentation. So basically 21-22 budget and where we are at to actuals, 22-23 projections, and then how we think we might get there. And that's what I was thinking, to about 6 slides, and then maybe throw in a few photos and some of the media stuff. So it looks nice, fun. And I'll show you the budget. So can everyone see this? I can expand it a little, move it over. Can everyone see that? The spreadsheet? Yeah. Okay, thanks for the thumbs up. So we have our annual budget, money that we have received and money remaining. And of course, this is what everyone wants to see. So what we did was, this was just our fundraising. These are just our fundraising goals. This was 21-22. We broke arts down into 2 particular sections. Theater Kid was added, and I believe this will be the last year that we will get money for Theater Kids. And so we budgeted $50,000 and we raised $135,620. And in academics, You'll see we have classroom grants, our advanced technologies, which includes robotics, 3D printers, drones, the essay contest, and native studies. And we've exceeded every line item except for advanced technologies. Every month we produce this report for our board. And it's super critical because like when I look at advanced technologies, we fell short 8,500. And it really tells us it's difficult to raise money locally in town for advanced technologies. People just don't understand it. There's a lot of explaining that has to go on, and you have to be able to show them things. We also had one donor who made a pledge who did not follow through with their pledge. I did talk to the donor, and the donor did assure me that they would be back next school year, the 22-23. And so I'm not making any recommendations that we actually change these numbers, but that's one of the reasons why we track to see where we are to goal. So our goal for academics was 135, we raised 153, 101. College career readiness, we have our scholarship SMART, Race Academy, Jazzy, those are the big headlines. 155 we budgeted, we brought in 245, 446. And we fell short with SMART. And so what we know is at SMART, where we have a sponsor a student, which is trying to really get to donors to be matched with students or to be matched with the group, we don't really have a champion behind that. And so we think we can do much more. And so you'll see when we get down to 22-23 numbers, how we've managed that. The wellness centers, 75,000, we've brought in 104, almost 105,000. Reason why that number is kind of an odd number when it's 25,000 for a wellness center is we've had a few donations based on the ads that we ran in the Desert Sun. And so it's not multiples of 25. General administration, this is board member contribution. And then Kathy brought us a very nice match from Netflix. And so that lives in general administration right now. So we have some discretionary money. And this is the only really discretionary money that the foundation has. Any money that comes into the foundation, $100, $75, $10, $1,000, if it's not tagged to anything specific, it goes right into the classroom grant bucket. And that's how we fund classroom grants. So fundraising is just a variety of different things. We budgeted 70,000 and we brought in 105.19. And these are the various things. So the shoe campaign was an active campaign to raise the funds, but you'll notice some of the other ones, parent engagement or the choir, the HBCU tours. So here is where we act as a fiscal agent for money. And so what we did for the HBCU tours, as an example, is as people sponsored students to go back east to colleges, we held the money and then we purchased Visa gift cards so that the kids each had $150 to spend on their trip. And so that's where that is. And the same with like Palm Springs High School soccer. There was a donation of $3,000 and that is going to uniforms and to paying for competitions and other types of things, and we'll make those payments. So we budgeted 500,000. It was a very modest number, as you might remember, because nobody really knew what it would be like coming out of COVID. And to date, we have 757,925. So almost $758,000 we've raised, which is 51.5% over budget. And I will pause there.
Just from a board member's perspective, I would say that it definitely needs to be the whole end of year presentation. I mean, this is the culmination of a year, and that's what should be presented, in my opinion, to the board.
Okay, so I will use that form. Thank you.
Sure. There's 4 other board members, but I'm just saying what my opinion is.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. No, I think that makes good sense.
Yeah, because we're not going to see them again until maybe September. And so
Right.
I think really celebrating this year is a good idea.
So speaking of that, Ellen, will you, and maybe you mentioned this before, but I was focused on all the numbers. Will you also, I know this isn't establishing the budget for next year, but we did kind of
Yep.
have those accelerating, targets.
Yep.
Will you reference that in this presentation?
Yeah, so the next slide after they see this is not going to be it's going to look a little different. It's going to have a pyramid. And in that pyramid, it will have for the arts, what we are suggesting. And let me just bring this back up since we're talking about that so you can see. So in the arts, when we look at this, 135,000, we have budgeted for 22-23, Mike, we budgeted 130,000. So we're
Got it.
trying to stay very close. So the goal that we originally presented in the study session was an $800,000 year 2,
Yeah.
right? So we're staying,
Right.
so we're at 758. We're staying very close to what we did.
Got it.
And so
Okay.
under academics, we bumped it up a little. And we do have a prospect that we think that we're applying for 50,000. So under academics, we increased that to 200,000. Now, that has not been voted on by our board. Our board will see this at the June meeting. But
Okay.
I feel that 200,000, just to scale that up a bit. Under college and career readiness, I will tell you, I brought that down a little because there's no guarantee we will get that scholarship money in, and
Yeah.
it's just too fluid. And so we brought that down to 150,000. We just kind of wanted it to be more flat as far as a budgeting goes. Now, under wellness centers, we did bump that up because there's so many grants and we're using the grant writer, so we feel a little bit more optimistic. We brought wellness centers up to 200,000 as a fundraising goal. And then for general fundraising, again, we're just going to align with what we did this year, and we have it at 100,000. So the budget right now for 22-23 is 780,000.
Okay.
So, right. So, I mean,
That's great.
No.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking, I think we're all in such a good position. I think when we came up with kind of those escalating numbers, we knew we were just making some best guesses, but I also knew that if, for example, next year we set around about 800,000, I also knew that if at the end of this year you were reporting that you raised 350,000, for example, there'd be a lot of questions about, okay, now how can it be $450,000 different,
Right.
For next year? But again, I think because of the great year you've all had and we've had, it makes sense. And it makes sense to have some up and down and reduction in places that you think you kind of over raised in this year and can't count on, and increases in other areas that you'd like to focus on and keep those numbers high. So I think that's great. I think that's perfect timing.
very good. And John asked last month, or 2 months ago, what we really thought were the driving factors for this. And I don't remember if I mentioned, but one of the things that is very, very clear is there was such a strong market, like an investment market, and folks were shut down during COVID. People had some extra money. And I do believe that is a level of generosity and people coming out of COVID. Now, yesterday, I had a meeting with a funder. I laid out the initiatives that they expressed interest in. We talked about a number, and I got an email last night saying, I'm so excited. I'm totally on board. And I'm sure I'm not the first one who's telling you this. The market is not only unstable, it has tanked. And this person has to sell stock to fund the initiatives that they are aligned with. And so they asked for an indicator of when we needed the money so they could be strategic in the sale of their assets. And so we are starting to hear that the market is impacting a number of individuals who might not have the same liquidity. Like a lot of people have lots, like when in our investment strategies for the foundation, for the school district, we have a nice liquid reserve that we can use for programming so we don't have to sell that stock. So not everybody has that kind of strategy. And so it's actually very uncertain for next year. I mean, the endowment from the foundation is down $350,000, which when you're talking $3 million, people might not really think that that is a big deal, but that $350,000 goes to programming. And it's the only place to keep it is in the market, but it is diversified. And so it's not as big of a hit as one would anticipate. And then our financial advisor did say that it's very similar to trimming. Did you mention this last month, Kathy? Very similar to trimming your rose bushes or your ficus hedges. And when they first get trimmed, you're like, oh my God, what happened to my plants? And then a year later, they grow again. And so we are being advised to just stay calm, and it will all come back. And
Yeah. Thank you. I'll take that advice personally as well.
Good.
I know, right? It's very scary out there. Mark, Kathy, anything you'd like to add?
No, not for me, Ellen. We're good. I'm good.
Not for me either. I think it's been a great meeting.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
So just the final item, but I think it's on the agenda, Karen.
Yes, it's the meeting dates.
So let me pull those up. Just to, when I say refresh my memory, it's really Erica's memory, because she's in our partnership, she's the one that remembers everything, and I'm the one that forgets everything. So
So glad I'm not alone.
yeah. And so did we talk about next year in Zoom, staying in Zoom?
We
No?
did not, no.
Okay. All right. So we do
I mean,
need,
we certainly can, but whatever.
yeah, no, we do just need then to have that conversation. I just couldn't remember. I think maybe what we had done is just agreed to finish this year in Zoom. Let me get my screen. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so this would be keeping the meetings on the third Thursday of the month. We've been having them at 2 o'clock till 3 o'clock. But unfortunately, you can see there would be 4 different dates if we kept those the third Thursday of the month, where we, as the district, we would need to ask if we could do those an hour later, from 3 o'clock till 4 o'clock. Those just happen to be weeks where we're out at school sites, and so we would need to push that back so that school has pretty much ended by the time we would be meeting, or we have some district-wide meetings scheduled that would go till, I believe, 2:30 on a couple of those dates.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Me?
Mike, I'm wondering, just so that it's easier for everyone to remember, do you just want to move, is it possible to move all of them to 3 to 4? So that, because sometimes,
Right.
when they change, it's like, oh, which week is this?
Which week
I
is
don't
it?
know.
Right.
I'll ask other people what they think.
Fine
Well,
with-
let me just say it is possible. So we certainly could if people wanted to do that.
I don't have a preference. I'm fine with either.
Ditto.
I'm fine too, if I'm still on the board.
Oh,
I have to
please.
run again. You never know.
Well, then there's at least 5 meetings. So, okay, then Erica, what would you say, just for us logistics wise, if, again, I'm just going to say if we did stay on Zoom and live streaming, or at least recording and posting?
So we can easily change it to 3 to 4 o'clock, and I can update this and send it out.
Okay.
And then I'll send out the calendar invites, and I mean, we can stay Zoom, so I'll set up a reoccurring Zoom, and then if 6 months down the road, we decide to go in person, we always have the Zoom available as well. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All
Sounds
right.
great.
All right, sounds good. So moving those to all of them being 3 till 4 and staying on Zoom until further notice. Great, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other member comments? Anybody else have anything to say for the good of the meeting? Was a great meeting. Okay.
I'm wondering, Karen, is there any updates from the district? Summer school or anything that we should, know about or we can communicate back to our board?
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, other than the things we've talked about, I did update at our school board meeting this week. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but COVID cases are climbing again. And so we're being a little cautious about that and want to encourage everybody to still, take precautions. Personally, know lots of people fully vaccinated, wearing masks, who also then end up getting COVID. And so just want to encourage everybody to be safe with that. We have started summer school. We have good attendance across most of our sites. That seems to be going really well. And we're at that special time of year where we're winding down one year and preparing to rev up for the next. But yeah, other than those updates, I think we're good.
Great. Thanks.
And we still are offering the vaccine, COVID vaccine and different vaccines throughout the district.
We are. I don't know right off the top of my head what our summer schedule is, but we still have a great relationship with Desert Healthcare and are offering those vaccine clinics regularly. Again, I don't have the date off the top of my head. And we've kept our district testing site open through the whole summer. And that is available to any district employee or student or family that needs that testing. And so you can just come here to the district office, regular hours, and we're still doing that free testing.
Is Borrego Springs still offering the TK and kindergarten exams and inoculations?
I'll have to check. I know maybe Dr. Kovac knows more specifically. I do know that with Borrego, there was some working and negotiating to have them continue to provide services, but I can't for the life of me think right now about that school readiness, TK and K, if they are providing those this summer.
I don't think they are, but I'll get an update on that with Laura.
Thank you.
And then I'll just share really quickly, June 30th is the foundation board meeting, and the June, July, and August meetings will be a hybrid of Zoom and in person. And the in-person part will be at the foundation offices. So right now we have 2 board members who said they would come in person, and all the other board members said that they would be on Zoom. So we'll make sure that we send Tina and Erica the Zoom links.
Thank you.
If you're able to attend and get an update. And then one question I did have, I know that it's summertime and we're doing barbecues or we're feeding. Is that, I think it's still going on. I saw a sign on the fence at Palm Springs High School.
So I will say we're not providing summer meals in the same way that we have over the last several years. And unfortunately, that's because the federal funding for that program has ended. We are providing meals at all of our sites that have summer school. And so all of our students who are at summer school are able to get meals, and any other family that needed a meal would just need to contact the school. But it's not quite the same as it's been for the past few summers because unfortunately that federal funding had ended.
Good to know. Thank you.
I will just add that since I'm on the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City, and they have a summer program, that the district is providing breakfast and lunch and snacks for them. So
nice.
Yeah, so I would assume at different locations where there are summer programs, our district is probably doing similar.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we're down to approval of the Board Foundation Subcommittee meeting minutes from the last board meeting. And I would assume everybody had a chance to review them. And so may I have a motion to approve?
There's Mark.
Mark? Okay.
I'm still having trouble accessing it from.
Okay, I'll second.
Oh, thank you.
Mike seconds. Is all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion
Kathy, do you
passes.
want to abstain since you weren't able to look at them, or are you okay?
That's possible. I noticed that the minutes are usually brief enough that they, are always accurate. So I'm fine with voting for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the setting of the next Board Foundation Subcommittee meeting, and exactly what date is that, Erica?
It will be August 18th.
August 18th, and then you'll send out the actual calendar for the year.
Yes. Now, I did, Ellen, you did note that we typically take July and August off, but the last year we had it in August. So if you guys want to continue and we can have it at the beginning of August, that's fine unless you decide to wait until September.
So we did have it last year in August.
Mhm.
Good, let's continue.
Okay, yeah.
I like the routine, the continuity.
Sounds good.
Righty, we're down to number 8, adjournment. May I have, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. It was a great
Thank
meeting.
you.
Very good meeting. Thank you.